In Miami's most vibrant Cuban neighborhood, it's business as usual. 8th Street in Little Havana is a popular destination for the world's tourists. But the events of the last few days are never far from the minds of those that live and work here. Eric Otero moved to Miami from Cuba when he was just 3 years old. But much of his family, including his sister and grandparents, remain on the island. Under the new policies, he'll be able to travel to Cuba more often and send 4 times as much money to his relatives than before. But he's concerned with bigger issues.
So increased remittances, okay, that's fine. What else? Can they speak freely? Can they have their culture, their own life? No. You can't say what you think. You can't go and actually aspire to own your own home. Unless you have American family to buy it for you, nothing's happening. It's a show.
Across town in the heavily Cuban-American neighborhood of Hialeah, the monumental changes are the subject of much debate. Tony Lizzo, who owns this Cuban cafe, says his customers have such opposing views on the US's new approach that he's seen old friends fall out.
People that have been eating breakfast and lunch together for over 20 years side by side, all of a sudden felt a little heated and they didn't want to even talk to each other by the time the breakfast or the lunch was over.
But amongst Miami's younger generation of Cuban-Americans, the changes are viewed very differently. Many campaign groups have fought for closer ties for years and claim the majority of Cuban-Americans in Florida welcome a new approach.
But by and large, the changes in our policy so that we can increase the flow of contacts and resources to the Cuban people is seen as something favorable.
Normalizing relations with Cuba was never going to be an easy transition for many here, especially the older generation, and uncertainty remains. But demographic changes have led to new opinions and an acceptance that change might be worth a chance. This is the biggest shift in US policy towards Cuba in more than half a century, but it remains a deeply divisive issue here. Many don't want to accept any change at all. Others are simply waiting and hoping to see what the future might bring. Andy Gallacher, Jazeera, Miami, Florida.